Good morning. How are you doing today? Today we're talking about perfectionism and how it can really stunt our growth, how we can actually manage our mind so that we can recognize when it's happening and we can do something about it. Because perfectionism is something that I struggled with for a really long time. And now, when I recognize that I'm doing it, then I can let go a lot quicker and I can start doing things differently in order to show up better in the world. So, the first thing I want you to recognize is that your perfectionism is holding you back from showing up really big in your life. It prevents us from doing the things that we want to do most. It prevents us from growing the team that we need in order to grow our businesses. And it really prevents us from interacting in a way that helps us develop our communication skills, that helps us to get through those uncomfortable times when we're trying to put something into the world. I mean, whenever we feel like we need to have control over something, like we're the one who can do it best, we're the only one who knows something, we're the only one who knows how to do this thing, then we are holding ourselves back from growth, because there are bigger and better things that we need to be thinking about, that we need to be developing in ourselves, and there's a lot of things that we could be letting go. Now, when I, was coming up as a lawyer, I recognized that perfectionism was often considered a virtue. And I understand that, you hear those things like when somebody's interviewed, the first thing that they say is, well, what in response to what's your weaknesses is I'm just too much of a perfectionist, like that's some kind of virtue. It's not a virtue. I want you to recognize that when you are a perfectionist, you're actually doing a couple things. You are attempting to control the situation, and I want you to recognize we are never in control of a situation. We may think we are in control of a situation. We may want to be able to handle as many factors as we can, control as many factors as we can to get the desired result, but we are never actually in control of the circumstances. We're in control of our thoughts. And when we start recognizing that, and when we start developing those habits that will get us out of perfectionism, it's going to benefit us. And it's going to benefit the way that we feel first and foremost. I don't know about you, but when I was in perfectionist mode and when I recognize it in my body, it's when I start to kind of feel a little anxious. I start to feel like I need to hold on really tight. And that's not healthy. That's going to create that chronic stress. And if you've been listening to videos or the podcast, you know that chronic stress is something that can lead to health complications, including cancer, heart disease, blood pressure issues. So just recognize that that is something that's happening in your body. And it's really just an illusion of control. Before we go any further, I want to introduce myself. I'm Dina Cataldo. I am a life coach and a lawyer, and I help lawyers manage their brain so they can decrease the stress in their lives, make their lives easier, make their practices better. And what I want you to see today when it comes to perfectionism is that we do have we have control of that. We have control of our thoughts. So one of the thoughts that we have when we're trying to be perfect is that we want to control the output. So if we do not create something that is perfect, let's say it's a trial brief, a closing argument, whatever it is, then we are a failure. We are going to get picked apart. Okay, so I think that's where a lot of this perfectionism as a virtue comes from, is that we want to be able to see everything from all angles and have control of whatever we can in the circumstances, the facts of our case. But when we start to just recognize we can only do what we can do, then we start to release some of that control, that grip that we have when we are working on a project like that. We start to recognize, you know what? I can only do what I can do. The facts are what they are, and I'm going to work within the confines of those facts. We're in 100% control of how we think about the situation and what we are doing. We're not in control of what the judge does. We're not in control of what counsel does. We're just recognizing we have this discrete space that we do have control of, and that is our thoughts about the case and how we work up the case. Another way that this comes up a lot is when you're working on your business, or you have, your firm, you're working on growing your firm, maybe you're working on building your client book, whatever it is. But when you are completely in this mode where you think you have control of everything in your business, your firm, whatever it is, then you are not taking advantage of other opportunities. So if you're one of those people who thinks only you can do this the best way, no one else can do this the best that you can, then you are not able to focus your attention, your valuable attention, on things that matter most. So if you have something like discovery you're giving to a opposing counsel, or you are in a position where you're doing grunt work, so to speak. It's not really grunt work, it's important work, but it has to be handed off to somebody else, because your position is to think about the case, to strategize, maybe it's to bring in additional business, but you have money-making opportunities that you're losing because you're not delegating the work that needs to be delegated. So it's important to start thinking in terms of, where is my time most valuable? Where can I spend my time in a way that makes my firm more valuable? And begin focusing the best you can on those areas. Now, I realize not all firms are created equally in terms of support staff. Like, you sometimes are a one-person show, right? Oftentimes you're a solo practitioner. Maybe you're listening and you have a complete solo practice. There's so many different things that are available now in terms of automation and alerts, so that you don't have to be on constant surveillance of your email inbox or your phone, or making sure that emails are sent out in a timely manner, or that there is a funnel that's created to get clients into your email list and eventually become a client. So just recognize that there are other tools out there, and start asking yourself questions like, how can I make this easier for myself? That will help you free up time so you can focus on your money-making activities. It's also going to help you grow your team and grow your firm, because if you're not investing in somebody else in your business, and I'm coming up against this right now, is holding on to all of these $5 tasks when I have $100 tasks that would more serve me to do. So I'm in the process of releasing these low value tasks to go to somebody who can do them. They may not be 100% like I would do them. They might be 70% as good. But if they're 70% as good, that's a good thing. You know why? Because once you release that project to that person, they're going to grow into that project and make it their own, and they will be able to do that project probably better than you ever will be able to do. And that's something we have to try in order to get our mind, out of that discomfort zone of delegating tasks. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that you get the perfect person right away. But if you don't begin letting go, you're never going to be able to grow your firm the way you need to grow it. And just notice what kind of feelings that come up when you're thinking these thoughts, like you're the only one who can do it, you're the only person who can create whatever it is you're creating, that judgment's going to fall down on you if you don't do this perfectly. Those do not create the feelings that you really need to progress wherever you are right now, where you really want to evolve. And if you're listening to this, it means you want to evolve as a human, right? So recognize that the feelings that are coming up when you have those thoughts are more tension-filled, they're more anxiety-ridden, and start to change your thoughts. When you begin making your thought something like, how do I make this easier? Or how can I, do this in a way where I can show up bigger in my firm, and you're starting to think through or ask yourself questions to give you a better thought, that's going to lead to a better feeling. So for instance, I'm determined to create the best brief possible is going to give you a feeling of commitment, maybe confidence to move forward, which is going to help you create a better result. Because when we're working from a feeling of anxiety, we're not always going to create the best result. We feel sometimes like we're getting where we need to get with that tension and that stress that we're putting on our body, as if that adrenaline rush is really getting us somewhere, but it's not. We can actually create better things in our business, better things in our life when we're working from a place of calm, of commitment, of confidence, because then when we act, we're acting from a place of kind of like a very solid place. Like those words I just used, they have a very solid feeling to them. And then when you act in the world, you're actually creating something that is going to benefit you more. So if you feel that, delegating something is going to help you devote your time to the more money-making tasks in your business, then you're going to begin to act in that way, right? You're actually going to begin hiring on the people that you need, and you're going to be able to create the results that you want, which is a growth in your firm. So just start to recognize this, start to be aware of this, and see where you can change your thoughts. Now, once you start noticing where this shows up, you're going to start recognizing the thought cycle that I talk about, right? So the circumstances are completely out of our control. We have absolutely no control over them. We've got a deadline tomorrow, right? But our thought about the circumstance, that deadline, is really going to impact how we feel. Our feelings are going to impact our actions, and our actions are going to create different results. And those results are going to be a direct reflection. They're going to influence, or they're going to show us exactly what our thought is, right? So if our result is bigger business, bigger client book, whatever that result is, it's going to be a direct reflection of what that thought was, which was probably something to the effect of, I can do this. I'm determined to build my client book. I am determined to make my life easier. I am committed to creating a firm where I feel really good about showing up every single day. And that's going to create the feelings that you want, and you get into that cycle. So just start to recognize that. Just imagine if you can let go just a little bit today. So there's a couple things I want you to know about. We talk a little bit more about perfectionism. It's called Perfectionism Unraveled in today's podcast, Soul Roadmap episode number 62. And you can also get into, if you feel like this is resonating with you, if you feel like there's a lot of places you can grow in your life right now, maybe you want to find out what coaching can do for you, go to DinaCataldo.com and sign up for a free 45-minute strategy session. You've got nothing to lose. Maybe you gain some insights that you didn't have before. So go to DinaCataldo.com, check out today's podcast. It's called Perfectionism Unraveled, and I have a guest today that we're talking about perfectionism. He knows a thing or two about it. And sign up for a 45-minute strategy session. It's totally free, and you and I can talk and see if working together is right. So, okay, have a great day. Bye.